Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Laguna Beach, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to today's
Show,
but it's not a regular study of the Bhagavatam. Today is Q&A day. I was going to say sleep in Saturday, but we've been sleeping in all week because I'm in California. I fly back tonight with the kids. We skip tomorrow's show, and we're back Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern time. Welcome, everybody. And welcome, everybody on Facebook. Facebook people, welcome. This is our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti literature. Find out how the jiva connects with the divine. Ancient wisdom made practical and relevant just for you. We do this every day so it sticks. Because that's how you get good at anything. You just practice it every day. And it works. That should be our subtitle. Wisdom of the Sages. It works.
Okay, you see, you're doing it again, Raghunath. You're just throwing out these ideas.
Throwing out ideas. I'm an idea maker.
You're a star maker. You're an idea maker. You do it all.
Mara, I'm gonna make you a star. And there is Mara. Mara, do you have any announcements for us?
We have a Bhakti recovery group meeting today at 9:30.
Mara, speak into the microphone. I know you're whipping vegan whipped cream over there.
How's he going to make you into a star if you don't speak into the mic?
Yeah.
What if I don't want to be a star?
I know she's the only one that doesn't want to be a star, but she can't help it because she's our producer here.
That's right.
We have a Bhakti recovery group meeting today at 9:30.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Mara. Wasn't it great when in Italy when we introduced Mara and she's like sitting in the back, like under a blanket, under a chair, and it's like Mara, everybody, and everyone's like, yeah.
She was a star. It's like everyone was into it.
Yeah. She never asked for it, but she couldn't help it. It was in her stars. Was part of her astrological chart.
I mean, it's like you want to just be a humble little caterer, and suddenly you're the #1 caterer in Columbia County.
And next thing you know,
she just got it. She just got it.
You know, you're a podcast celebrity.
That's right. I have another announcement, Raghunath.
Please tell me.
So yeah, we're off tomorrow, but I will be at the Bhakti Center tomorrow for people in the area, doing the Bhagavat Shravana class at 11 a.m. from 11 till 12:30. Speaking about Bhagavatam, discussing it, Raghunath.
Speaking about Janmashtami, we're having a Janmashtami celebration at the farm. You want to come up?
I can.
You can email Bhakti Retreats 108 for more details, but basically after 2:00, we are hanging in the farm for Krishna's appearance. That's our Christmas, basically. That's our Christmas. It's one of the big ones. And people think like Diwali's the big one. Nope. Krishna's appearance is the big one. It's a spiritual holiday. You know what it is? It's the anniversary of me becoming a devotee. I like committing to Krishna consciousness.
And that's why it's the most important day of the year.
It's important for me, but it's important.
You just said, you know what it is? Huh? You just said, you know what it is? It's Krishna's birthday, but you know what it is?
Also,
the day that I became.
So is that, my friends?
Okay.
It's my anniversary.
But in the encyclopedia, where should it start? Like where it says, Krishna Janmashtami, should it start by saying, this is the day that Raghunath Das became
on my bio, it can say that on my tombstone.
I'm saying what defines the word Janmashtami, but it's okay.
Oh, what does it mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
Janmashtami, the 8th day.
You're not
of the
even
moon.
catching on to what I'm saying.
I'm not catching on to your humor
It's
today,
all
my
right.
friend.
All right.
It's Krishna's appearance, and it happens to be the day I gave my life to Krishna in
There you go.
1988 on Janmashtami.
You gave your life. How did you do that? Like, was there a ritual? What did you do?
I moved into the ashram and said, Krishna, I'm yours. You got this life.
Wow.
I took it back for a few years, and
Okay.
Krishna, I'm taking my life back. I got some other desires I'm working on that I don't think you understand me enough, and now I'm back.
But then he did understand you.
He did.
Yeah.
Krishna gives you a long leash if you want it.
Mm,
It says, here, you can create some trouble if you want. You'll be
okay.
back. Krishna's like, okay, you'll be back. You'll
And
be
I'll
back.
introduce you to Joe Rogan while you're at it, right?
Yeah, he did actually.
That's
When I
you're
was on my
hanging out with-
long leash, I became good friends with Joe Rogan.
Yeah. And then it all came back around. It all came back around.
Well, my friend,
We got
so it's
Q&As.
Q&A day. People
Yeah.
write in their questions.
Okay. You know
and
who
if
our
you-
first? Oh yeah, go ahead. You want?
I'm
Yeah, you
just
want to
saying,
announce
if
it?
you have a question, you can write it in wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Mara will put down her whipper. What tool are you using today there in the kitchen, Mara? Lift it up. Lift up your tools. Oh, a chopping knife.
Whoa.
Like a butcher. It's just like in India, you're walking around the Govardhan Eco Village, and there's like a woman wearing a sari squatting down, like, oh, what's that woman doing? And then she gets up and she's holding one of those sickles. Like in America, if you see a person with a sickle, you're like running for your life. In India, like sickles are just like normal tools. They're gardening tools. Mara just pulls out that like butcher knife.
Okay, Raghunath. This is a squirrel that it's leading us nowhere.
All right, let's get onto the questions. We got some good
Thank you.
questions, and we're going to start this one off with
This one's from Carly from Alaska.
Carly.
Yeah, Carly.
Carly was great. Carly came to Italy with us on our Wisdom of the Sages Italy retreat.
And you know who Carly's hooking up with today? Probably is Bhakti Marg Swami, who we interviewed last weekend, because
Why?
he's in Anchorage, Alaska.
You're kidding.
No,
He walked there?
I don't think he walked there, but he's there.
Okay.
He's walking around there right now.
He's like the walking Swami. I've got a feeling he may feel guilty every time he gets in the car. Like, hey, what are you doing walking Swami?
Maybe.
No,
The walking, it's not the walking Swami. I think I call him that. It's the walking monk. That's what they
the
call
walking monk. Okay.
him. Walking monk. But Carly's question, we'll both take this, Raghunath, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so here's the question. It's a really practical question. How do you practice bhakti sincerely without holding back, full on, right? Full enthusiasm, wholeheartedly, and at the same time not lose relationships?
It's a good question.
Good question.
It takes some like maturity. And I've realized like a lot of people don't have that yet. You got to be delicate, because not everybody wants to hear about your newfound romance for Krishna.
Mhm.
They might just think you're nuts. And with all your enthusiasm, you may come off sounding a little nuts. You're allowed to keep your love affair for Krishna full on, but private also. It's also nice to find people who, it's also sometimes you want to tell people because you love Krishna. But you got to be careful, because some people will try to take you down, and they'll try to shake your faith a little bit. Although I will say that I told everybody, when I got into Krishna, I was like, wait till my friends and family hear about this. They're going to love it. And it just wasn't true. But it made me, because they challenged me, it sharpened my discernment of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think that's sort of important. It's almost like in the old days when the Krishnas were out there preaching on the streets. You'd run across atheists or people from different religious paths, or just people are just inquisitive, and they start sort of challenging you. And in that challenging, you really got to think, why am I doing this? What do I believe? And they may catch you off guard and be like, wow, I never thought about that. And that's either going to weaken your faith or strengthen your faith. all in all, it's good, because to really understand Krishna, you need that deep understanding. It's not blind faith. It's deep understanding. And then deep understanding that there's something very valuable here, and then taking a little step forward. And I think you're doing that. And I think sometimes it's good to get chopped down a little bit and shake up your faith, and then regroup. In that process, your faith only gets stronger. And if you have doubts or if you have questions, and you come back to someone who can clarify those doubts, and shine some light on them. But I think it definitely helps you grow. And we're not looking for fanatics. It's not attractive. It only attracts other fanatics. We're looking for people who want to progress on their spiritual path with deep rooted integrity. And when you develop those roots, then when someone comes along with some very weak philosophy or some hardcore atheist, when those roots are deep, it can't shake the tree so much. It's when there's no roots and you just the externals of bhakti. Well, I like the dress, and I like the I like the community, or I like I like the food, or you don't really quite understand it. When that wind comes by, the tree will go down. So it's important to really understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I always say, what do you know about bhakti? What do you know about this practice? And for me, I'll write them down, because there are still things after practicing for 30 plus years I don't know. I could understand. It could be true. Certain things I don't know.
But Raghunath, there's one thing that Carly doesn't know, and she needs to know.
What?
How do you practice bhakti sincerely without holding back, and at the same time not lose relationships?
Okay. All right. Thank you for regrouping me.
Send you back. It was all very valuable information, but she's got a burning question.
Okay. You're going to lose some relationships probably. You're
You
going to gain a whole new bunch, and you're going to gain a whole new bunch of relationships. We're your new friends, Carly. Now you'll lose some. I mean, sometimes what I found was I want relationships with more substance.
Okay.
I can get along with anybody, and I just make it a point.
Are you sure?
I get along pretty much with everybody.
Okay, pretty much.
I practice finding common ground with anybody.
Okay.
And then if people want some spirituality, I give them some spirituality. If they just want friendship, I can give them friendship. If they want to do some yoga, I can do some yoga with them. If they want to do some wrestling, I'll wrestle them. I can get along with pretty much anybody. Find some common ground. And there will be people that will drop out of your life, I think. It's because they just think you're nuts or weird, or maybe your relationship was based on something sort of trite.
Okay.
What do you got for that?
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of, some bullet points for Carly, just some solid things that can help her through this. So I was thinking, what you said, it may be that some of these relationships kind of fade away, right?
Well, especially if all you had a relationship with them was I had a lot of friends, when I was a teenager, all we'd talk about, sex and
really,
I didn't party, but
what kind of?
There were guys talk about sex when
nonstop?
they're in their 20s. Sorry. Yes, they did.
Okay.
So when I just decided I'm not going to treat women like this, I don't want to think of women as just this thing for my enjoyment, then I just cut the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just I had nothing. I realized I have nothing in common with these guys anymore. That's all he.
So some of those, what is it? Sri Chaitanya said. What is it in Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's slipping my mind right now. But there's a verse that one of the main qualities of Vaishnavachara. It's slipping my mind, but
Asat
Sangtyag
e Vaishnavachara.
Asatsanga Tyaga e Vaishnavachara. Thank you, Raghunath. That kind of giving up of Atsatsanga, of bad company, right?
Bad company.
Bad giving up of the letting go, let's say, of bad company. Let's say that Tyaga, right? It's the letting go of it. is like essential to the character of the Vaishnava, certainly to the practice of the Vaishnava. So that may happen that certain people that you associated with more closely, you will not associate with so closely anymore. But let's focus on the positive here. Let's get some bullet points of how you can minimize broken relationships, because I think that principle is one thing, but it's another thing that an immature new bhakti yogi will do that'll be unnecessarily breaking relationships and awkwardly moving through the world and creating issues where issues don't exist. So let's start here. You take up a new bhakti practice, you have new values, and you got a new focus, and you might think, oh, I get it, and none of these other people do. I'm better than them, right? And it's not a particularly healthy way to think. And a better ways, and that feeling of superiority can lead to a judgmental kind of attitude. So we want to throw that out, right? We want to take that and we don't want to embrace that at all. It won't help us in our own bhakti, and it's certainly not going to help us in our relationships with others. So if you can have your faith and your conviction and still move around the world without being judgmental of others, kind of seeing them where they're at, feeling like I'm down here with everybody else. Somehow I'm really fortunate that I've got this new connection, but I'm not better than anyone. I think that'll go a long way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think another principle is, although you're tempted to give people more and more of what you know, let that be regulated by first recognizing how much they can accept, right? Like try to go there first, look at the person, hear from the person, and determine how much can this person understand, and don't give them more than they can understand, because then you're just going to get into arguments where they say things that are hurtful to you, you say things that are hurtful to them, and it doesn't really help anyone. So, as much of your faith as you can share with someone, share it as much as they can understand. It may be nothing more than, well, yeah, I'm trying to control my senses more. I realize that my senses get a hold of me, and they drag me around. I want to be in control. It may be what they can swallow and appreciate and understand. And the whole thing about Krishna being the boy and lifting the hill and all of that is not going to help them at all. Recognize that, right? And share only what they can appreciate. And if you do that, that can grow. But if you try to give them more than they can appreciate, they're going to get turned off, and you might find that's when the conversation goes places where relationships get broken.
Sometimes people come into this and they're, this is a very common question I get personally. Raghunath, I think I have some toxic people in my life. I want to remove some toxic people in my life. Mm-hmm. What do you think about all these toxic people in my life? How should I deal with these toxic people in my life? I just say, keep on going, chanting Hare Krishna, getting focused on your spiritual life. Those toxic people will walk away from you. Don't sweat it. We don't have to worry about harvesting toxic people from your life. You just focus on, and the relationships that are real will stay.
There you go.
And the relationships that are very superficial, they'll go away. And you know what? That's part of becoming a virtuoso in your spirituality, or like becoming a virtuoso at anything. We stop wasting time. Yeah.
That's a nice point. Yeah, it's this relationship that you have with Krishna is something that you express externally, and there's also a very confidential part about it. So there's something that you hold in your own heart and you don't share with everyone. So try to recognize what you share and what you don't share, and who you share what you share with. You can be in the midst, you have to go to work, and maybe amongst the 10 people that you work with, one of them is somewhat open to what you have to share. So with that person, you share as much as they're able to process. And then as you're walking around those other people, you're not participating in certain areas that you're kind of politely sidestepping conversations, and but internally you're always with Krishna, right? You don't have to wear that on your sleeve all the time, but you can always have it all the time within. and then you share it with the people that you think can understand it as much as they can. That work? You like
Pretty
that?
good,
Rogan?
Carly. Pretty good question.
Yeah. Carly's a great, amazing person.
Carly's full in.
Yeah.
Okay, this
All
one's
right.
from Chantal from Germany. She's live here on Zoom. If you want to join us live on Zoom, you can. You just got to email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. It's fun to be on Zoom. I can honestly say.
Chantal is here?
Chantal's
from Germany. There she is. So,
From
you
Germany.
know how we got this question? This is the first time this happened, Raghunath, but I'm encouraging it to happen more.
Sure. Tell me.
Chantal is in one of the sage groups.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so like I let the sage group leaders know, hey, sometimes questions may come up that may be good questions for the show, for our Q&A day. So this one is coming from, this is a sage group question.
All right. Well, did I say it? If you want to if you got a question, email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Then we'll read your question on Q&A day. Okay. She says, if Yuga Dharma, that means the spiritual dharma of this age, is chanting the holy name, is there a difference between chanting Japa and kirtan? Right? They're both sort of chanting. Japa is like on Indian rosaries, they call them, on malas, and kirtan is singing. Why do we need
with a group of people, right?
Sing with the group.
Sun kirtan, in any case, yeah.
Yeah. Why do we need to chant 16 rounds? Why can't we just have kirtan?
Okay,
Kastuba, why can't we?
Why? Well, let's just start with the first part of the question. Is there a difference? Because it's saying, okay, that in this yuga, in the Kali Yuga, this age, what is the age characterized by, Raghunath?
In Kali Yuga, men are unfortunate, challenged, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed.
Okay, and even more just fundamentally, how do we define the age of Kali? The age of
quarrel and hypocrisy.
Okay, yeah, quarrel and hypocrisy, especially quarrel, right? We're always fighting with one another.
Always quarreling. I'm quarreling with you on a regular basis.
No, Raghunath.
Yeah, and when I'm done with you, I go right to Mara and start to quarrel with her. I was like, who else wants me? Come on.
Who wants a piece of
I'm
this?
looking for a good quarrel.
But so it's said that in this, there are different references to this age, the Kali Yuga, which we live in, which began roughly 5,000 years ago. It's when we deal with the Vedic conceptions, we get on these very large time scales and cycles, right?
Interesting, yeah. There's small cycles, right, in our lives, and then there's bigger cycles, and then the Vedas speak about massive cycles of time.
Yeah, and we're in the dark one. We're in the age of quarrel, where people are fighting. It's not normal.
The winter season.
Yeah, the winter season, the cold season, the Iron Age, and so there are different references that speak about what is the Dharma for this age, and they speak of it as chanting the holy names. But this is one point that I want to make. Really specifically, the Yuga Dharma is the sun kirtan, is the chanting together with music. That's, it's like there are 3 places in the Puranas where one verse is mentioned. In the Vishnu Purana, you'll find this verse. In the Padma Purana, you'll find this verse. And in the Brihad Naradiya Purana, you'll find this verse. It's Dhyayan Krite Yajan Yagnyais Tretayam Dwarpayer Chayan Yad Apnoti Tad Apnoti Kalau Sankirtya Keshavam. Sankirtya. Whatever is achieved by meditation in Satya Yuga, by the performance of yagna, of sacrifices in the Treta Yuga, or by the worship of the deity in the Dwapara Yuga, is obtained in the age of Kali, the age that we're in, simply by the Sankirtana, but by the congregational chanting of the glories of Krishna. Right? And we also find in Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tvasha Krishnam, Sango Pangashtra Parshadam, Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer. You know the rest, Raghu?
Tadalpa Vedamedasham.
Yajanti Hisuveda Saha.
Close.
Close. You got the
Should have rhymed like that.
In the age of Kali, intelligent persons, people with Sumeda Saha, with good intelligence, right? They perform Sankirtana. They perform the congregational chanting, of the names of Krishna, which is kind of inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya, right? It talks about that. So the point is this: it's mentioning sankirtan, not just kirtan, but sankirtan can mean to glorify, and we commonly use the word sankirtan to refer to what is more technically called sankirtan. Sankirtan means we're all doing it together. It's a group of people doing it together. And there are differences, and there's some essential differences of why this is the dharma for the age, even compared to japa, which is also the chanting of those names, but doing it individually. And you know what I would say is most fundamental about that, Raghunath?
What?
Well, if the age of Kali is the age of quarrel, right? It's an age that's full of envy, and it's an age that's full of jealousy and hatred and greed and anger and conflict. Kirtan is something that directly counters that, right? It's like, hey, we're all fighting with each other. We got to sit down for a second, take a deep breath. The reason that we're fighting is we're putting our own selfish needs in the center, right? Let's put God in the center, and together, let's all do this together. Let's all together, through beautiful music, focus our mind and our hearts on that root of all existence. And so in the Kali Yuga, because we're all fighting with each other, the Yuga Dharma is to all get together, right? Take ourselves out of the center, put God in the center, and sing these names. So it's a way of directly, it's a process that's not meant to save us individually. It's a yoga practice that's meant to save us all together, right? The yoga for this age, Sankirtan, is not just for the individual. As other yoga forms are generally or almost entirely presented, right? In other words, if you're going to do Ashtanga yoga, you go off alone, right? I want to bust out of this world on my own. Sankirtan in Bhakti Yoga is a different idea. It's like, we need to all get together, you know? We need to all get together. This is a yoga for everyone to perform together. I remember once when we were doing the Navadvip Mandal Prikrama. It was like about 12 or 1,500 Bhakti yogis having the time of their lives, right, Raghunath? Going around this beautiful holy place in West Bengal.
It was quite wonderful. It was
so wonderful. And it's really the mood of Sri Chaitanya, who's the inaugurator of the Yuga Dharma, the Harinam Sankirtan. We're doing massive Sankirtan, kirtans all throughout, and everyone was feeling exactly this, right? We all took ourselves out of the center. It all became glorifying Sri Krishna, constantly doing Sankirtan together. Everyone was feeling, and so at the end of that, we ended at where we started, is the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya, and different people were asked to speak and share their realizations, because it was 9 days of camping out and going around. You come back, people were sharing it. Ravindra Swarup Prabhu shared something. I was sitting right next to my Guru Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Goswami, and Ravindra Swarup Prabhu spoke, and he said, you know, from this, I finally understood something that I was meant to understand all along, you know, that our process is that we do this all together, right? That we don't go back to Sri Krishna alone. We go back all together. And I remember I was sitting next to my Guru, and he said, that's the point, right? That's the point. And so in this age of Kali, it's the Sankirtan. Now, there's another reason, like Raghunath said, our minds are always disturbed. So other forms of yoga are difficult, even japa, right? Where you sit alone and you try to focus your mind on that holy name, try to focus your mind on that mantra. Kirtan is important because the music makes it easier. It makes it easier to focus the mind, which is really what yoga is all about. But to address this point of why Sankirtan, why doing kirtan as a group as opposed to japa is important, Jiva Goswami writes in the Bhakti Sandarbha, a very important text on Bhakti Yoga. He says, when many people gather together and sing the glories of Sri Krishna, it is called Sankirtan, or congregational singing. This congregational singing is superior even to kirtan performed alone, or japa, because it produces such extraordinary feelings, right? It's a combination of the music and the combination of everyone working together. See, because there's also power in the group, right? That we lift one another up, and our focus goes much deeper. It's much stronger. So the Yuga Dharma, is there a difference between japa and kirtan? Absolutely, right? The real Yuga Dharma is the congregational chanting. It has special power. It has special beauty. It produces extraordinary feelings. We have minds that are always disturbed. It'll help us focus our mind. So then comes the next part of the question. Well, then why don't we just do that? Why do we do japa at all? Right? And we do both. It becomes a unique form of yoga because it's done as a group, but we're still yogis and we still have minds to train, and we still have, and japa is a very excellent way of training the mind or drilling the mind that all of our acharyas have done this. Sri Chaitanya himself did it, and all the great teachers, in our bhakti lineage, they would chant on their beads a regulated number of rounds. In the beginning, it's a practice and it's a way to drill the mind, right? That I need to sit like a yogi, bring my mind to this mantra one after another, and I'm going to do it for a certain amount of times every day. Because when you repeat something, steadily over the course of a long time with the right dedication, it becomes firmly rooted in the mind. So it's a strong practice of firmly rooting and bringing the mind to this powerful mantra. There's a deep value in that. And so we do that as a practice, but as it matures, that practice becomes not like a burden. It's not something that you do just to finish it, right? But it becomes something that you relish. And that brings me to this beautiful verse. It's in the book Padyavali, which is a book by Rupa Goswami. It's a book of Rupa Goswami's favorite verses that he compiled. Like he brought them together. It's a verse by a Vaishnava named Sri Bhavananda. And the verse is like this. It says, "O Lord, just as a miser continually collects, counts, and remembers his money, in the same way, let us continually collect, count, and remember your holy names." Like that. So they're different. One is where there's the power of the group behind you, right? Where the music is also there, lifting one up, focusing the mind, stirring up extraordinary feelings. And that's our Yuga Dharma, getting everyone together and focus, throwing out all the fighting of the Kali Yuga. It's a direct counter to the age of quarrel. And the other practice, japa, is a way of, like a yogi, fixing our mind, drilling our mind, regulating our mind so that it gradually becomes more, the troublesome parts of the mind become weaker, the focus on the mantra becomes stronger. And that's a practice that gradually matures to a very deep kind of relish. And there's something about, just like our faith is that this mantra is Krishna, and that the kirtan, the sankirtan, that's like the rasa dance with kirtan, right? Like everybody's dancing together in the music and in a circle, and the japa is like being alone with Krishna, and there's something to that part of the relationship too. That you spend time alone, opening up your heart, confidentially. That's an important part of our practice too. So they work well together for the bhakti yogi. They complement one another. They're both important. And we follow it because our great teachers have instructed us like this. I hope that is helpful.
Very good. Yeah, it's very practical in Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
Kirtan.
Oh, kirtan. Yeah. Just like we were saying, what was it? Was it even yesterday on the show, right? We're talking, because I had gone to the Thursday night kirtan before. More or less, I was saying exactly this, right? Everyone gets together and focuses together. That music kicks in, and all of the symptoms of Kali Yuga disappear. We can make the symptoms of Kali Yuga disappear, just like get everyone, just have a good.
We figured it out. We figured it out. It's all figured out for us. If you feel like you're caught up in a world of hate where people are at each other's throats, we've got where we're broken down into tribes and we don't like people over their color, their skin, or their gender preference. We figured it out, everybody. No need to have this argument any longer. You just come to the Bhakti Center on Thursday night and come to kirtan, and we all come together on a much more deeper, subtle level.
Just quickly, because I see Chantal, she's put something up on the board. She says, "Thank you for answering the question." She says, "I'm finding japa quite difficult, especially having a little baby, and was wondering about this." Yeah, and it is more difficult, no question. Sankirtan is easier. But because it's difficult doesn't mean that we don't do it, right? It's something that's difficult in the beginning, and it may be something that you struggle with over the years, but it will become sweeter. You know,
Yeah.
it'll become easier, and it's important either way. It's having an effect that may even be imperceptible to you.
There are seasons of life where Japa will be very easy and stuff where it'll be a little difficult. Having a little baby is probably one of the more difficult.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
But good
Try your
luck.
best.
Chantal,
Try your
good
best.
luck. Yeah, stick with it.
You're still on the team here.
Okay.
We appreciate you.
All right, you ready, Raghunath?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so we have a question for you that came via email from Gayanel. Am I saying that right? Gayanel. Hi there. I'm mostly an other, but sometimes a Zoomer. I have a background in Christianity, okay? And although I do not claim the religion now and keep thinking about Jesus, I keep thinking about the Jesus loves the little children.
Everybody loves that song, don't they? Jesus loves the little children.
I didn't even know that song.
Mary, you know that song? All the children of the world. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's a great song.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, that Jesus, he does love the children.
He does.
Pretty.
Okay. Well, here's the question. Does Krishna love all, including the little children, I suppose, right?
He loves everybody but the children. No, Krishna loves everybody.
Okay, well, let me finish the question.
Krishna loves. Okay, go on.
I keep hearing talk about his love for his devotees, right? Bhaktivatsala
Right.
and so on.
Yeah.
But what about all the rest of the world? I'm not a devotee, and I'm sometimes, actually a lot of times, I'm so confused about the terminology and the deities. Okay.
Okay, let's keep this very simple, guy. Now, great question. First of all, Krishna is like the sun, and the sun does not play favorites. The sun shines everywhere, but some people choose to be in the sun all the time. You know, there's some people even on the East Coast who somehow ends up tan. They find that time of day where they can get in the sun. And some people, even on a vacation, they hate the sun. They cover themselves. They wear long sleeves and big hats. So the sun is impartial, but we have to choose. Krishna is impartial. He loves everyone. He's giving his love.
What a great analogy, Raghunath. What a great analogy.
Thank you. I stole that from one of the great acharyas.
Okay.
All you need to do is desire. Krishna's waiting for you, like a loving parent. A good parent always loves the child, and the child has to decide, especially when they get to their later years and teenage life, where they move out. The child has to decide: do I want a relationship with the parent? A child is always dependent on the parent. What's for dinner tonight? What are we doing this weekend? You know, I'm thinking about going to my friend's house. Then there comes to a point where the child develops a certain amount of independence, and at that point, the child gets an apartment, gets in a job, not so needy on the parents, and then the parent. A good parent is always got love. Therefore, the teenager or the person in their young 20s, et cetera, they have to get to this point where, like, I actually want to have a relationship with my mother and father. And they have to choose that. We're like those teenagers. We have to choose if we want a relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is there waiting for us. And Krishna is love. And he does love the little children. He loves everyone. But some people are going to choose to be with Krishna. And some people are going to be like, you know what? I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in a spiritual life whatsoever. And we have to come to this point to really deepen our love. Now, the parents' love never changes. You know, if the child just decides, hey, you know what? Screw my parents. I got my own thing to deal with. They never loved me. That's okay. The parent is waiting for that love.
Right,
Good parents will always wait there for the love. But it's really up to the jiva or the spirit that has just sort of like immersed in their world to say, you know what, I want Krishna now. Let's see if did that answer the question.
Yeah, I think you answered it very well, Raghunath. And you know what your answer is making me think? I think you really touched on something.
Tell me.
Because like we say Jesus, but how do we conceive of Jesus? We conceive of Jesus not as God, but as the Son of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus is out there loving the children and moving around the people and extending God's love. But God, you don't see so much in the picture like in the New Testament, right? It's Jesus extending God's love. And so it's like, it's said that the devotee is even more merciful than God, right? Like the devotee feeling God's love goes where God doesn't go. Like, in other words, God is like, I love you. I'm just waiting for you to come back. And we can read about that in books like Brihad Bhagavatamrita or something like that, right? Where it's like, where like the devotee finally makes it back to Krishna, and Krishna's like embracing the devotee and saying, where have you been? We've been waiting for you. It's like, you know, crying tears, fainting. Krishna's fainting because you're back. You know, it's like, I'm so happy to see you. Krishna faints out of ecstasy. You know, it's like that love is not just, it's not just that Krishna loves everyone. Krishna's love is the deepest love for everyone. It's a love like you just can't imagine, right? It's the deepest love. Don't sing anything, Raghunath. Hold your I know where your mind was
going. Know me well.
and so, but at the same time, Krishna's not imposing that love. He's like the mature parent, not like the kind of like
needy.
The needy parent, where he's like saying, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to love you, I do love you, I'm desiring you to turn back to me, but you're free to do what you want to do. And the moment that you come back, you're going to feel my love like you can't imagine. But the devotee is different. The devotee says, okay, you've turned your back from Krishna's love, but I'm here to try to turn you back, you know, like right. I'm actively. So Jesus was doing that. He was active. Krishna, he's waiting, right? He's there with you as a Paramatma too. And as Paramatma, he's that bird on the branch that's saying, I'm here, I'm ready for you. Whenever I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what deepest, gutter you've dug yourself into. I'm here with you, just waiting for you to turn back. That's up to you. I'm not going to force that on you. When you're ready to turn back, I'm here for you. But the devotee is going out there and extending that more.
Guy, I just want to share, you are a devotee, okay? And I think it's very important to do that work of Jesus, so to speak, do that work of the devotee in this world, that we give love and we give kindness and compassion and extend ourselves to people. And see everybody. This is, I train myself. I see everybody I meet as a devotee already. And it's my job to build some bridge for them, because what happens is everybody's a spirit soul. They're already devoted. They just might not know Krishna. They might not know God. They might think, well, no, I'm endeavoring for this thing to make me happy. And deep down, we have to have the deep understanding that everybody is actually looking for Krishna. Everybody's looking for God. And when you're really convinced of that, then our job becomes just a loving bridge builder to take them to the
loving bridge builder.
Hi, I'm Raghunath. I'm a loving bridge builder.
You're like,
hey,
okay,
we're trying to construct a bridge over here on my property. We have this trench. Hi, I can help build your bridge. I'm a loving bridge builder.
If I was in some kind of meeting circle and you came out with that, I'd be like, okay, I'm out of here. Hi.
But you are a devotee, but sometimes we're not good devotees. We are devotees, but sometimes we're not good devotees. We do think of Krishna, and sometimes we forget about Krishna. So our job is to find people that help us remember that we are devotees. If you're a yoga teacher, your job is to remind people that they're spiritual beings. If you're a parent, your job is to remind your children that they're spiritual beings, not material beings, because ultimately we want their happiness, and they're not going to be happy when they're convinced that they are a material being. Why? Because we're not that. And it's not going to actually deeply fulfill us. It's not going to fulfill our heart. So we have to remind ourselves, which we're doing. That's why we listen to this podcast every day. That's why this isn't that's why this isn't Wisdom of the Sages, a weekly yoga podcast. It's a daily yoga podcast. You have to hear this stuff every day. I have to hear this stuff every day. It doesn't matter how long you've been practicing it. You have to, on a regular basis, hear truth, hear wisdom, put it in your head, because nature is like a riptide and it drags you away from truth. And so once we remind ourselves what we are, then then we feel the joy of that authentic us. And then we naturally want to extend that feeling to someone else. So I'm just here to say that because you seem a little confused, and it's understandable, but you're a devotee. And it's all going to start to click into place as you move forward towards Krishna.
I don't think Gainel was saying.
He says, I'm not a devotee. And sometimes I am a devotee.
Oh, I see.
Actually, a lot of times I am. So he's he's in that place where I get it. Because sometimes you get really fired up and you're sort of like, man, what am I doing? And and sometimes we have an attachment, and we go back, and then we shame ourselves for having that attachment, and then we think the attachment, well, that's the real me. It's not the real you. The real you is your spiritual identity. And I have to really convince myself of that there is a real me above my attachments. I'm holding on to things oftentimes that have never satisfied me, that have always got me in a little bit of trouble sometimes. And it's time for, if there comes a time, there's going to be a catalyst that's going to come. And for some of you out there, that catalyst has already come. And that's why you show up every day. There's going to be a catalyst that's going to say, you know, Krishna, I'm all yours. I'm all yours.
Can you see the real me, Raghunath?
I see you. I see the you that you don't see.
Okay. You don't know that song, though, do you?
Oh, no. Oh, it's a song?
Can you see the real me? You don't know that one?
No, I don't.
See, Raghunath, you're rock
Sing
and
it.
roll.
Sing it.
Can you see the real me? Can ya? Can ya? You don't know that one?
No, who is it?
It's the Who. It's the Who.
Oh, the Who.
But you know, I like your point, Raghunath, there too. I think you're really on it. I think that Gayanel may be thinking, because I don't understand all the terminology and all this, I'm really not one of these, you know. And so Sambandha Jnana, you know, like understanding all these categories, and that's important. The conceptions are important, but where one's heart is the most important thing. So, you know, if your heart is like, hey, I want to love and serve God and to love and serve every living being, you're a devotee. You're in on it, right?
You're in. You're on the team.
But you know what I'm thinking when I hear that other part? It says I'm so confused about the terminology and the deities. I think this is Wisdom of the Sages 2.0, Raghunath. This is where we got to go, right? We've been talking a little bit about this, but I think Raghunath and I need to start just producing like mini video clips.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're right. They get into all these different subjects, right? Just like real clear, maybe with a little animation, you know, to help understand, like there's a chalkboard behind us and writing the different things out. Maybe we got to get.
I want a little animated version of you. Hi, I'm Kostuba.
I don't know. That's not what I'm talking about. But you know, like almost like there's a chalkboard, or you can spell things out, or just in creative ways, visually as well as, you know, through words, explaining the different terminology, explaining the different deities. Hey, here's Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Let's have a 5-minute video clip on that. Right?
Hi, I'm Cartoon Kostuba.
We're gonna let go of that idea, okay?
Well, that's what what's animation?
Animation just means that, like, on the screen, that things are moving and coming alive and so on. So, like, I'm saying animated, like if I were writing on a chalkboard or something like that. Okay. But there can be other ways to do too, and just showing.
There can be claymation versions of us, though. You're saying
could be.
It's okay if that happens.
Yeah, I'm not 100% against it, but you're fixated on it. That's my point. I'm fixated on the other part, like the communication part. Not the kitschy part.
I've always wanted myself in a cartoon.
Well, you do have an action figure.
Do you remember do you remember like a Scooby-Doo when they'd bring in, like, hey, it's the Three Stooges, like they'd bring in real people onto their cartoon? And
that always thrilled you? Or they do it on The Simpsons?
They do it on The Simpsons too, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Kostuba and Raghunath. And who's that in the car? It's with a whisk. It's
in any case, I really do think that that's what we need to do. And people can send in like the topics that they feel, you know, we can explain what Bhagavatam is. We can explain so many things, you know what? Sage levels 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think that's our next move. That's Wisdom of the Sages 2.0. I think that could be as important as the podcast, and can be a way to bring a lot of, you know, explain what karma is, explain what reincarnation is, explain, you know, those real general kind of things, but also explain like the more complicated things, you know.
Great idea.
It's a great idea. Do that. Okay.
With claymation,
if need be. I think we may be out of time. You know, the next question, I can't. It's such a deep question. I don't think we can just
hold it for next week.
We'll hold it for next week.
Ah, Mara, we don't do takeaways, do we?
We don't do takeaways on this day.
No, I'm off.
What do we do
today.
How do we end this class?
We just play some music.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we end.
Oh, that's how we ended. Well, good for you. Good for everybody here today. Thank you for joining us on Q&A day. Tomorrow's a day off. We'll see you Sunday. It's a travel day for me. I'm sorry. I'm going to be up in the air thinking of all of you. Every day, this Bhagavatam comes to life. Draw in that wisdom literature, hear truth on a regular basis. It starts to change the way we think, and it brings us on track to a more authentic, sincere life of depth and joy and love. Yeah.
Thank you, Raghunath.
And thanks, Rudy, for joining us on Zoom. And I'm ready to read some new reviews on Apple Podcasts. So go to your Apple Podcast and write a review of the show. Go to Apple Podcasts, and there's a way you can review it yourself. And give us a 5-star rating. It helps our ratings with Apple Podcasts, and that gets more people into this podcast. Yeah, you could give it, and share it with the friends. Carly, you were wondering how to keep relationships? You just share that podcast with them and tell them, hey, this is something I listen to every day. I actually think you would like it. I always say that when people write me messages, I think, I think this podcast might be right up your alley. Give it a chance. Listen to it every day for a week. See what happens.
Say like Laura Denoya, you could just go right on there and say, it's my favorite part of the day.
It's my favorite.
Because she just wrote that on the chat board.
Yeah.